Hello, Dazzle! Thanks for coming and hanging out with me today. I'm glad that you are here. Today, I'm going to dive into the Jack and the Beanstalk section of the Darkest Tales and how it plays into the overarching themes of the game. Like the transformation of Little Red Riding Hood, this section takes a familiar story and twists it into something much darker and more complex. In The Darkest Tale, the encounter with Jack is a grim reflection of the dangers of greed and the costs of unchecked ambition. In the traditional story, Jack is portrayed as a clever, if mischievous boy who outwits the giant and escapes with treasure. But in this reimagined version, Jack's ambition has consumed him, and his journey up the beanstalk takes a sinister turn. Instead of a brave hero who simply outsmarts a giant, Jack has become a figure driven by greed and desperation, willing to climb higher and higher no matter the cost. This transformation feels less like the traditional rags to riches story and more like a cautionary tale about the perils of unchecked ambition. The beanstalk, a symbol of opportunity in the original tale, now represents a dangerous path, one that leads not to fortune, but to ruin. Jack's relentless climb is marked by an obsession with what lies at the top, reflecting the way that greed can blind someone to the dangers that they face and ultimately lead to their undoing. Much like the encounter with Little Red Riding Hood, the Jack and the Beanstalk section subverts our expectations. Instead of the lighthearted tale of a boy escaping from a giant, we get a twisted journey through a dark and dangerous world. The Beanstalk is no longer a magical gateway to riches, but a perilous ascent into madness and despair. Jack's obsession with the giant's treasure becomes a metaphor for how greed can distort one's view of reality, turning what was once a hopeful climb into a descent into darkness. In a traditional fairy tale, a hero often overcomes their challenges through cleverness or bravery, but here, Jack's cleverness becomes his downfall. His constant need for more treasure, more success, leads him to push beyond the boundaries of reason. The game uses this to highlight a theme that's central to the Darkest Tales. In a world where happy endings are elusive, ambition without caution can destroy you, as we see with Jack, who is left with nothing but rot and ruin. Where the first essay explored Little Red's transformation as a symbol of lost innocence, Jack represents a different aspect of that same theme. In his case, the loss of innocence is tied to the pursuit of material wealth. Jack's descent into greed strips away any sense of moral clarity, leaving him a shell of the character that he once was. In traditional versions of the tale, Jack's theft of the giant's treasure is excused by the fact that he is the underdog, using his wit to survive. But the Darkest Tales doesn't let him off the hook so easily. His theft is not an act of survival, but one of selfishness, revealing the dark side of his character and showing how innocence can be corrupted by desire. This ties into the larger theme of the game, how fairy tale characters, once symbols of innocence or virtue, can be reshaped by the darkness of their world. Just as Little Red was consumed by vengeance and trauma, Jack is consumed by greed. Both characters embody the idea that the fairy tale world we once knew has become a reflection of the darker aspects of human nature. The loss of innocence here isn't just about growing up or facing challenges, it's about being warped by the harsh realities of life. Another key theme in this section is the idea of consequence. In the original story, Jack's actions lead to a happy ending. He defeats the giant, takes the treasure, and lives happily ever after. But in the Darkest Tales, the consequences of Jack's greed are far more severe. His climb doesn't lead to wealth and happiness. It leads to a kind of madness, where the pursuit of riches becomes an endless, destructive cycle. The game uses this deviation from the classic story story to explore how unchecked ambition can lead to self-destruction. This idea also ties back to the game's exploration of moral ambiguity. Jack is not a villain in the traditional sense, but his actions are far from heroic. His story becomes a reflection of how people can be consumed by their desires and how the pursuit of material wealth or power can lead to ruin. In this world, there are no clear-cut heroes or villains, only survivors who must grapple with the consequences of their actions. In both the Little Red Riding Hood and Jack the Beanstalk sections, The Darkest Tale uses familiar stories to explore darker, more mature themes. Where Little Red's story is about the loss of innocence through trauma, Jack's story is about the loss of innocence through greed and ambition. Both characters are shaped by the harsh realities of their world, and both stories subvert our expectations to deliver a more complex, nuanced view of morality. By reimagining these classic tales, the game challenges us to rethink what we know about fairy tales and consider the darker aspects of human nature. It is not just about flipping the script for shock value. It's about using this subversion to explore deeper themes like trauma, greed, and the consequences of one's actions. Well, that's about it for my rambling today. Thanks for coming and spending some time with me. If you like my rambling, then click on that like button. It really does help. And until we talk again, you guys be sure to take care of yourselves. Bye!